to week 4 of the Children's Garden. This week we are going to be doing chicks and hens in a boot. So make sure when you come on Friday that you bring a boot or an old shoe that nobody wears anymore. So the first thing we're going to do with that, so first of all we're going to talk about what chicks and hens are. So chicks and hens, or hens and chicks are, they're succulents. And what it is there's bigger ones like this that we call hens, and then they sprout out and create smaller ones, and we refer to those as chicks. So these are succulents, and what succulents are plants that have thick leaves and stems that hold in the water. So they're really good at growing into dry areas because they hold in water, so they don't need water very often, which makes them very popular because they're easy to take care of. You don't have to water them every day. They only have to be watered every few weeks. So succulents are very popular, and when you think of succulents, you might think of cactuses. So cactuses are one type of succulent. So here is one cactus here, but not all succulents are cactuses. So some other types, we have some here. This is like an aloe vera plant. And then here's another succulent, and then our hens and chicks are other succulents. So the difference between cactuses and other succulents are that cacti have few or no leaves. So if you can tell here, there's no leaves on them. And then they also have small little bumps on them that are called areoles, and out of them grow small groups of pokey little spikes that grow off of them. So that's how you can tell the difference between a cacti and other succulents. So today we are going to be working with our hens and chicks, which is a type of succulent, and we are going to be planting them in a old boot or a shoe. So in order to do that, we want to have some places for them to grow instead of only where you would put your foot in. So we're going to cut a hole in the front of your boot or your shoe. So you're going to need an adult's help for this because you're going to need a sharp knife to do that. So here I cut a hole in there, and then we're also going to need holes in the bottom that allow for drainage, because although they don't need a lot of water, we do still have to water them, and that water needs to be able to drain out. So you're going to want to take maybe a screw or a nail on the bottom and cut through there so that there's some small holes on the bottom, as well as your large hole on the top. And then what we are going to do is we are going to fill your boot up with some soil. So you're going to get a bag of soil like this, and you will start filling that up. So this could be interesting. We're just trying to fill this all up as much as possible. We're going to try to fill it to the top of your boot or your shoe so that we can plant your hens and chicks in there. And depending on what type of boot or shoe you have, and if maybe you're using your parents' or if you are using one of yours, it's going to take a different amount of soil, but this should cover it with this gallon bag. So there I have the soil in there. You can see the soil also came out through the bottom there, which is going to be good to plant some of them in there. Okay? So from there, we are going to take the transplants out of the nursery pots. So you're going to want to do this just like you've done the other ones. You're going to want to tip it over and carefully pull that out. One nice thing about succulents is they grow very easily in containers because they have very shallow roots. So that is all there is to the roots there. So it's going to come out a lot easier than some of your other plants have. But that's why they grow nicely in these containers, because as you can see, you don't need a lot of soil. So you can tell here with the succulents, it barely has any soil, which is why it can grow nice and easy in a container garden. So we're going to want to create a little hole for that. And I'm gonna place this hen up on the top there in that soil. So I might want to add a little bit more soil to that. So we have plenty, and so that we can see it at the top. So we're going to make a little hole there. We're going to place our hen in there, and we have that at the top. As your hen will grow, it will send out other chicks that are just smaller ones out from that. So then we're going to kind of decorate around here as well, and so we're going to add some chicks out the bottom. So I have a few of them here that have been pulled out. You can see if they have a lot of extra dirt on them, you can carefully pull some of the dirt off of them, and then we are going to carefully just plant those in the bottom of your boot there. So you can decide where you want all these to go, but plant those and just move the soil around, create some space for those. And you'll add another one up here, a little chick. And just get that roots right down in there. And we'll plant a few more little chicks down on the bottom here. If you need to add a little bit more soil to that, you can do that as well. Soil coming out there. So you can see just the smaller roots there. We want those to be exposed to the soil, so make sure to carefully remove any dirt that's on the side of those. So there we have a hen and a chick up top and a few little chicks on the bottom. And then as it grows, it will produce more chicks as it goes along. So then once you are done with that, you are going to want to water them. Like I said, they don't need a lot of water, but they do need a decent amount of water, and then you can go about 2 or 3 weeks until you water them again. And one thing when you're doing this, you want to try to avoid watering the actual leaves, because if the water sits on the leaves, it can cause the leaves to rot. So we want to make sure just to water the soil if possible. So we're going to try to get in here and water around that. It's okay if some gets on there, but we'll just try to keep it mainly on the soil. And as you can tell here, it's kind of coming out the bottom. And then we'll just try to keep that so that the leaves are dry. Right. So when you are caring for your hens and chicks, you'll place them in full sun or partial sun, and then you'll water them every 2 to 3 weeks. Give them a good amount of water, because then they can hold that in for 2 or 3 weeks, and then you can water them again. And as they start to grow, the hens will produce more chicks. And if you want to move them to a different place, you'll just carefully pluck them from around the hens once they're about 2 to 3 inches tall, and then you can place them somewhere else. So maybe a chick will grow up here and we want to move it around, we can still do that. It's like a transplant, so you'll just carefully do that when they're 2 or 3 inches tall. And then every once in a while you'll have to remove the dead leaves so that all of the nutrients will go to the live ones. So that is what we are doing this week, planting our hens and chicks in boots. And so make sure tomorrow to bring your an old shoe or an old boot, and we will go from there and work with some succulents this week.